Welcome to video number 2 in Module 309. This video focuses entirely on safe braking, and it's a classic example of a set of skills that will help you no matter what vehicle you're driving. But certainly stopping and braking become much more important and much more difficult the larger the vehicle you're driving becomes. And you can see why from this graphic. When two vehicles are going 30 kilometers an hour, even the large one doesn't take a whole lot longer to stop than the small one. But when you start to add speed and inertia, this large vehicle needs much more time and space in which to stop. And that's partly because of inertia, and it's also because there's an extra ingredient in stopping for large vehicles. You can see that the car has 3 different colors that represent the 3 phases of stopping. The blue is our sensory perception. Our eyes see that something has to happen and sends the message to our brain. The orange is our brain sending a message to our body to compress that brake pedal. And the green is how long it takes for our car to stop once the brake pedal is pushed. You can see that between the foot pushing down the pedal and the car beginning its braking process, there's really no delay. But in a larger vehicle there is. It's this red box, and the red box is referred to as brake lag. In a nutshell, the larger a vehicle is, the less quickly the brakes become operational. There's a distance between the pedal and the actual brakes themselves, and that translates into a few split seconds of additional time before the vehicle can stop. So that inertia and that brake lag mean that we have to be particularly alert, and we have to make sure that we don't give too small amounts of distance between ourselves and the vehicle ahead of us. So this is a classic example of a graphic that you should get to know and that will very likely show up on the exam if you go into ICBC Driver Services. Stopping distance is not just braking distance. It's equal to the perception plus the reaction plus the brake lag and the actual braking distance. You'll need to remember that larger vehicles have longer distances in all areas, but especially in the braking itself, the actual green. And the other thing you need to remember is going to be demonstrated on our next graphic, that weight and speed both have an effect on stopping. But when we add more weight, we don't do as much as when we add more speed. Here's an example. If we double the weight, it takes us twice as much to stop. We double the speed, it takes us 4 times as much. What they're trying to tell you is to slow down. And if you double the weight and the speed, look what happens. It becomes 8 times harder to stop. So you'll see this graphic in the book, and this represents exactly what we've just talked about. Make sure again you understand it. It's very likely to show up on an exam. One of the things we want to do is create enough space between ourselves and either the vehicles in front of us or things like traffic signals and signs so that we can brake gradually. We don't want to do something called a jerk back. And no, that doesn't mean taking back a boyfriend that you probably shouldn't take back. That's a different kind of bringing the jerk back. But braking gradually allows us to avoid having the front of the vehicle dive down and then bounce back. And that's particularly important when you're transporting people who have physical disabilities. You don't want their wheelchair to come loose from its moorings. You don't want people who don't have good core strength to be going back and forth all the time in their seat and getting sore or getting sick. You want to make sure you're watching the driver ahead, literally looking through their back window and seeing indications of whether they're paying attention, whether they're talking to a passenger, whether they're playing with their radio. Don't tailgate that person. Instead, give yourself 2 seconds at least in a Class 4 vehicle. And what we mean by 2 seconds is that we pick a stationary object on the side of the road, such as a sign, and when the vehicle's bumper passes it, we start counting. And we should count 1 1,000, 2 1,000 before our front bumper passes that same obstacle. Make sure that you slow down if you are not doing that. Now, people sometimes think, well, if 2 seconds is good, why not give 3 or 4 seconds? And the reason is people will try to cut in between you and that other vehicle, and suddenly you'll have less space again. So having 2 seconds to 3 seconds is really the sweet spot, and it makes sure that people don't start passing you recklessly or cutting in front of you, and you will still have enough stopping distance. Always travel at a safe speed, and remember that speed is not safe because it's under the speed limit. Speed is determined by the condition of your vehicle, the condition of the driver, and the weather conditions. So if it's foggy, rainy, icy, or the road is covered in gravel, all of those are examples of times when you should slow down. You want to look as far ahead as you can when you're driving. It's a really bad habit to look only at the vehicle ahead of you. Look, if you can, as far as 12 blocks down the road. It's amazing how much more of an attentive and in tune driver you'll be. You will see the driver who's closest to you, but you'll also be able to see other potential hazards well before they happen, and you'll tend to drive in a more straight and smooth way instead of wavering on the road and potentially making people feel carsick. Make sure that you balance the loads when you're getting people in a vehicle or luggage or wheelchairs and so forth. Remember that each of them has a lot of weight. And if you put all the vehicle on the front or back of the vehicle, you're going to be stressing the brakes. Similarly, if it's on one of the sides of the vehicle and you're trying to brake around a corner. So the more you can balance the loads, the better your vehicle will operate. It's also important to make sure that we maintain the brakes and tires. Later on, we'll learn how to do a pre-trip inspection, but brakes are difficult to see in the course of a pre-trip inspection. So instead, we have to make sure that we're getting in regularly and having them inspected, and you'll be able to tell by looking at the owner's manual of your vehicle how often they're supposed to go in. And just listen to a good, reliable mechanic as well. If you're braking on an icy road, even if your vehicle has something called ABS, it's a good idea for you to do something called covering the pedal. And that means having your foot kind of hovering over the pedal anytime you're around potential hazards. When it's time to push the brake, you don't want to slam it on because the vehicle can start to fishtail or lock up. You don't get to directional control if that happens. So light pressure will allow you to slow down and steer at the same time. Locking up the brakes means that the wheels stop spinning. Instead of the brakes slowing us down, now it's the tires skidding across the road that's slowing us down. And the problem with that is that you can't steer while your vehicle's wheels are stuck in one position. The other thing we have to remember about brakes is that they only work at optimal temperature. If they get too hot, they start to fail. And in fact, if they get really hot, the heat coming off your brakes can actually cause the vehicle to catch on fire. If you're ever driving up the Coquihalla Highway in the summertime, take a notice along the way at the side of the road and see if you can notice the big black van-sized spots that are often along the side of the road. Those are places, usually on the downside of a hill, where somebody has rode their brakes and allowed the brakes to get too hot, and as a result, their vehicles caught fire. So instead, we want to make sure that we are slowing down before we start heading down hills, instead of riding our brakes all the way down. Not only will you wear your brakes out prematurely if you don't do this, but you'll actually create less braking effectiveness, and you'll probably have people start passing you if you're riding your brakes all the way down. So by slowing down before you crest the hill, and by applying light pumping to the brakes, just a light sort of feathering, you'll be able to keep yourself at the speed limit or lower. Downshift before you get to the crest of the hill. Downshift literally means go into a lower gear. Many people who drive automatic vehicles never take them out of drive, but they probably should, especially when they're heavy, when they're towing a trailer or have lots of passengers. It's a good idea to put the vehicle into second gear or whatever gear is just below drive as you're heading down the hill. And in fact, if you're going up a hill, it can be a good idea to do this. And that's why that gear shifter allows you to do that, because at lower gears, you have more power and allows you to go up and down the hill more smoothly. What you're doing when you do this is allowing the compression of the motor to slow you down instead of the brakes. You'll feel that the vehicle feels almost more like it is lumbering or slow, and that's a good thing when you're going down the hill. We talked about ABS, which stands for Anti-Lock Braking Systems, and anti-lock braking systems have evolved a great deal in recent years, so most of the time you don't need to worry about this. But you may be driving a vehicle that's older, and particularly if you're riding a vehicle that's wheelchair equipped. Often these vehicles last for many, many years because they don't get a lot of mileage, and because the cost of converting them is so expensive, people try to make the vehicle last as long as they possibly can. So the ABS system and other systems on the vehicle might be older technology. Make sure then that you do not just rely on the ABS surfaces when you're the ABS braking when you're on surfaces that are somewhat slippery, like loose gravel or sand, gravel roads, or snow and ice. Instead, make sure that you apply firm pressure, and don't be surprised if you feel a feeling through your foot like a shuddering. That's not evidence that the ABS is not working. It's evidence that it is working. That is the sounds of the brake pumping itself at an extremely high rate so that it doesn't lock up. If you happen to go through water while you're driving, and I'm talking about a puddle that's fairly deep here, one of the smart things to do is to apply a little bit of pressure to your brakes as you're driving, just to wipe them clean, essentially. And that will allow you to stop properly the next time you need to. You want to test those brakes, and of course you want to avoid going through deep water. Runaway lanes, you'll often see them as you're going down hills, particularly on places like the Coquihalla Highway. It's important to understand that those are there to help you stop. If your vehicle's brakes are failing on the way down a hill, you can aim for a runaway lane, and the runaway lane typically either goes back upwards or it has deep gravel that will sort of slow down your wheels and bog you down. So you can go there until your vehicle's wheels are cooled down again or until any mechanical issues are corrected. But you cannot stop there for any other reason. Don't stop to go on a hike, to have a picnic, or to go there for a quick bathroom break. Use a proper rest stop for that. You can get ticketed for stopping there. All right, so make sure you understand how brakes work. One more thing before we sign off on this video. This is an illustration of a drum brake, and drum brakes are more common on large vehicles like semi-trucks and large commercial vehicles like cement trucks. But the vehicles you'll drive may also have disc brakes, and we'll show you what those look like when we do the pre-trip inspection. In those kinds of vehicles, there's a disc that is clamped onto by the brakes, and the good thing about them is that they're a little bit easier to inspect, and they tend to work better as well. But everything else we've talked about is still true, including the ability for them to overheat. Okay, hopefully this has been helpful, and we're on to video 3 next.